As always, the dub managed to excite this week. On Friday night in Melbourne, we had one game which can best be described with the question, what on earth actually happened? While on Sunday in Melbourne, it was a much more routine performance for Melbourne City as they advanced to the semi-finals of the Asian Women's Champions League. Some rather just routine games this round, but all having massive finals implications. We also have a Matildas squad to talk about. We have ownership discussions around Canberra to talk about in the positive direction this time. And we also speak to Sydney FC shotstopper Jasmine Black on this episode of the Dubcast, part of the Round Ball Australia podcast network. Burke, what did you make of this weekend of football?
It was a lot. There was a lot happening. But also, in some places, there was nothing really happening at all. It was very interesting. Definitely kept me on my toes. Got out to some games as well, which is always nice. Yeah, good stuff.
You were at the Asian Women's Champions League semi-final on Sunday afternoon, and you asked a very good question in the press conference. The audio wasn't the best, but I did hear your dulcet tones ask Michael Matriciani about whether or not Melbourne City would potentially be hosting this hub, and unfortunately, it's not looking like it's good news for Australians.
No, yeah, it's most likely not gonna be here. I think due to the cost that it would rack up, and I guess just finding the place to, or the correct place to host these games, because whoever ends up hosting it's going to have to host all of the teams that are semi-finalists and then have to find places for them to train, places for them to stay, blah blah blah. So I guess the cost really just kind of blew out of proportion, which is unfortunate because you would think if any club would have the money to do such a thing, it would be Melbourne City. But I guess we'll have to wait for next time. But still, very cool to have one of the games here.
I mean, there's absolutely no shortage of footballing venues in Victoria that are appropriate training facilities. You've got the likes of home of the Matildas, you've got Ironbark Fields, you've got Casey Fields, and that's just the A League Women venues. But there's a lot of things that come with AFC stricter standards, all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. I'm not. I believe the only venue that wouldn't be being used by an Australian rules team that would be suitable would be the Melbourne Rectangular Stadium, which hosted the city's 3-0 win over Taichung Blue Whale. So it's a bit of a disappointment that Victoria really lacks those rectangular stadiums that meets the AFC standards, because I'm not sure what the rugby league draw is doing, but if the Melbourne Storm have that booked out already, then that basically rules out the only venue available. So it's disappointing from that front. But I'd imagine it would at least be one of the four teams remaining that would be hosting it. So joining Melbourne City in the semi-finals, South Korea's Incheon Red Angels, Chinese side Wuhan Jiangda, and Vietnamese side Ho Chi Minh City. So yeah, I think looking at that, you've got you know some very good cities that can host this sort of like Final Four competition. And Melbourne City will face Incheon Red Angels, Burke, a side that has experience against Australian sides in the past.
Yeah, I think playing Incheon Red Angels will be really exciting for Melbourne City. I'm thinking that most likely places that will be hosted will either be in Seoul or in Wuhan. I doubt Vietnam will be pushing for it. That would probably be very exciting if it was there. So I think it's either between those two cities, unless another country sort of wants to step in. But I think it'd be much smarter for it to go to a sort of a host nation of one of the teams. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting given that they have experience playing Australian teams, so they'll, I guess, have a bit more of an idea of what it's like to play us, as in us as in an Australian team. But it's all very exciting. It's all very far away as well because it's not until May, like late May. So lots of time in between for everyone to prepare and or fall apart. Who knows? See what happens.
Yeah, but I mean, on one hand, you look at that experience, but then on the other hand, do they have experience against an Australian side that likes to have 78% of the ball, Burke? I could not believe it when I saw that number that, ended that 78% of the ball. I mean, we know this is the way Melbourne City love to play, and Tai Chung, they very much sat in a deep block, which has been the bane of a lot of Australian sides in the past. But as Matriciani said post game, was a very professional win. The way they went about their business. But yeah, it was just I couldn't believe that number, 78%, and the bits and pieces that I was able to watch properly this game, it never looked like that ball went into the attacking third when City had it. Like, this was very much we're just going to play this in the middle third of the pitch until you give us an opportunity to break it down.
Yeah, that was pretty much what happened. Um, there were a couple of times where they were trying, but the block was really, really effective, which is why it took a penalty for Holly McNamara to get onto the score sheet because they were so well disciplined and they're actually in their preseason. So to pull off this kind of performance when you've had to travel for hours and are playing in an unfamiliar environment is actually really impressive, especially considering how strong of a team Melbourne City is. I think the Blue Whale had a really good game, honestly. They were quite impressive.
Yeah, Melbourne City, of course, have a lot of football before that takes place. Just one last thing I wanted to touch on Champions League. The path has gotten a little bit easier for Melbourne City by the fact that it is Wuhan Jiangda who have gone through. They beat Urawa Red Diamonds 6-5 on penalties after it was 0-0 after 120 minutes. And Burke, we know just how dominant Japanese sides are, particularly in the women's competition as well. So to have one of the two big powerhouses out at the quarterfinal stage just makes it a little bit easier for Melbourne City now.
Yeah, it was a really shocking result, honestly, because, yeah, Urawa are a massive team in Japan. So I was fully expecting them to be the ones going through, but this is football. 120 minutes plus penalties will do that to you, I guess.
It will indeed. We'll move on now to the Matildas squad announcement. So we did say last week we were hoping to have a Matildas squad to talk about and discuss this week. Um, we have that, and I think that's all you kind of need to say. That was a very underwhelming squad, I think. But I'm trying to be a lot more positive about my Matildas takes at the moment. Um,
Aren't
I
we all?
like the inclusion of Jamila Rankin. I think she had that came in recently for the for that extended camp in Brazil against Brazil and Taiwan in the November December window, was part of the cohort that had to go back to Europe after the Brazil game. So I'm hoping to see her get a lot more of a run here. Um, Excited to see Claire Wheeler come back in. I think hopefully, touch wood, that her injury problems are done for the time being, and she can actually get a run in these fixtures, because I think it will give Tom Samani a chance to try something different in midfield. The idea of perhaps having you know Kairakuni Cross and Claire Wheeler together in the in the midfield will make it just that touch uh, bit easier than it would, just running out, Katrina Gorry and KCC Bro midfield sort of vibe in a 4-2-2 or a 4-4-2. But other than that, not Not a whole ton to write home about. Courtney Nevin back in. Alana Kennedy once again being named in the squad as a defender. I thought was interesting given that she's currently playing as a defensive midfielder for Angel City Burke.
Yeah, that was an interesting one as well to me, but I guess she's been doing it for the Matildas for so long. No real need to change that. Because, yeah, while she is playing defensive mid with Angel City, she hasn't been doing it there for that long, I guess. So I guess no real need to change the denomination on the team sheet when they can just slide her into defensive mid if they want to. Very happy to see Claire Wheeler back. I would very much like to see her back even further and be on the pitch this time. Really excited, hopefully, to see some more Winona Heatley and Tash Pryor because I really, really liked what I saw from them in the last round of games, all the tiny amount of time we got from some of them. Yeah, but otherwise, this is really. Oh, and Holly Mack, obviously. Shout out Holly Mack. Yeah, otherwise, it's very much pretty much exactly what you would expect to see. Couple of extra names here and there, but nothing like to write home about, I guess.
Yeah, I mean we've talked ad nauseum about this. It the Matildas being in that transitional phase with the fact they don't have a full time coach, the fact that Tom Samani, I think we said this in our review videos of the She Believes Cup. He either is unwilling to make changes, or he's been told he can't make mass changes. At least that's how it's appearing from the outside. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because at the end of the day, it's not Samani's job. He's not taking this job full time. The fact that he is still in this job speaks to problems that are a lot bigger than him. And I think he sort of he sort of addressed that in the press conference. He was asked a question, but it's sort of like, well, that's not in my remit. And he's right. It's not. I don't think it was related to the coaching situation. The audio, I think, cut out a little bit as I was watching that one. But, it's sort of like, but he is right. It's not necessarily in his remit to do it. He's been told to get the best out of these players that, are there. And it's a very tough opponent in South Korea coming up for these two games. They've knocked Australia out of the Asian Cup in 2022. Be very keen to avoid a repeat of that. But I mean, this is not a side to be taken lightly, Burke.
No, no, absolutely not. I am scared. I will say that. I do have the fear of South Korea because of what they did to us last time. Um, yeah, yeah, there's nothing really more to add, is there? He's not the head coach. He's said from the jump he was never gonna be the head coach. I'm starting to think this head coach for the Matildas is actually a myth or a conspiracy theory in itself. There's no head coach for the Matildas anymore, guys. It's just not a position that they have. Yeah, I don't know where this head coach is coming from, and I don't know why they haven't gotten one yet. I would love to have a head coach. I'm sure the
The,
players would love it even more, but I would really love to have a head coach. So,
I mean, we saw the players come out after the last window and say, I think it was Claire Hunt specifically who was asked about it, and it's kind of like, yeah, we're here, we're ready. As soon as we've got the coach, we're ready to dig in and prepare for the Asian Cup. And this is another window where we don't have that. I think there's a June window off the top of my head, so that's there's some sort of window in the off season. I know that, or the A League Women off season. Hopefully someone's in place by then. But Burke, I think just going back to your point there, um, having a head coach, it's a vibe, it's a feeling, and if this was some sort of Hollywood story, the head coach was inside of us all along. That's where this is.
yeah, absolutely. That might be what it comes down to. That every game they just pick one of the team, just one of the players. You can be the head coach today.
The older captain coach.
Yep.
that doesn't get seen anymore because we're supposedly all in professional level sports now.
Steph Catley, you are the head coach, I'm afraid.
Might be able to help shake up the defensive line a little bit.
Mm.
So maybe Catley sitting out for a game or two as she runs the bench might not be the worst thing in the world.
We are kind of low on defenders. Maybe not. Maybe not this time. Not against South Korea.
Look, all I was saying is, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to the idea of a back three of, Winona
Ah,
Heatley, Tash Pryor, and Claire Hunt. Give Steph Catley some rest. She doesn't need to play.
that's very fair. I would also quite like to see that. I think that would be very interesting.
Uh, you know, we can hope and we can dream, and I think that's all we've got at this point is a hope and a
Yeah.
dream. We'll head into those games. Matildas against South Korea, Friday the 4th of April at the Sydney Football Stadium, and then Monday the 7th of April at the I forget what its government name is, McDonald Jones Stadium. I'll use the sponsor name this time because I can't remember what the government name for that stadium is. But we'll head into A League women action now. Burke, I know we sort of changed up the way we're doing the rundown a little bit. We usually go with the big storyline, so I'll let you have your pick of where we go first in terms of the dub games.
My big storyline has to be the Victory Newcastle game, mostly because it was just so utterly bizarre. I was actually at this game. I went down to home of the Matildas. I was a little bit late, so because of that, I was punished by Emily Gilnick and missed 2 goals. I'm so sorry, but Bundoora is at the opposite end of like where I live. It's like a 50 hour 50-minute hour long drive on like a decent day. But yes, so I did miss those. The Yanchevsky goal was something. It was an interesting goalkeeping choice, is what I will say, and I will leave it at that because we've heard what I think about goalkeepers this season, and I don't think we need to go into that again. Honestly, by the time Yanchevsky had scored, I thought this game was done. Like, I thought that was it. I was like, yeah, okay, victory will shut up shop. This will be a 3-0 win. But they didn't do that. They actually did the opposite of shutting up shop. They opened the doors and invited Newcastle all the way back in. Yeah, so Lauren Allen scored in the just before halftime. Then Sophie Hoban with an insane goal at the 45th minute that I could not believe my eyes when I saw that. So much so that I pulled up the Paramount Plus app on my phone, and because it's so delayed, it was actually perfectly timed for me to see it happening live on the stream. So thank you, Paramount Plus. But the coverage did not make it any easier to understand what happened. It was, I believe, Claudia Bunge trying to clear the ball, but cleared it right into Hoban. And because of how hard she cleared it, the rebound was so strong that it went all the way back across and into the goal on an angle. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So suddenly we were in a 3-2 game and it looked like the Jets could win it. And then the second half was pretty, like, it all seemed very tame. And I was like, oh, great. The Jets aren't going to make anything of this. That was a mistake of me to think that because Sheridan Gallagher came on and Sheridan Gallagher around and scored a goal. And then it was a draw, which was very exciting. The crowd was really getting up and around it. And then a couple of minutes later, Aussie Kayla came and saved the day in what was a very contentious goal. So it was from a corner that Alana Yanchevsky took, and she's left footed, so she was taking it from like the left corner, but it was like an outswinger. So the ball kind of went curved like out and in sort of thing. So then Jets players apparently, or like the referee was apparently saying that the ball had gone out, so it was just going to be a restart. And then a Jets player hit the deck, and then Kayla Morrison scored, and then it was a goal somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, I
That's what I saw.
look,
Whether that's
I couldn't
true,
make
I
heads
don't
or
know.
tails of this either. That was a very weird one. I mean, if anything, they probably have more of an appeal for a free kick than they did the ball going out. You know, broadcast angles, all of that
Hmm.
make it very hard
Yeah.
to determine where things are, particularly at some of the dub venues where it's
Yep.
not the best angles at the greatest of times, to see where the ball has or hasn't gone out of. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, that's Melbourne Victory will be very happy. I think that they got the win for this one. But I mean, 3-0 up after 25 minutes. You've got to be. You can't be relying on Kayla Morrison to save your bacon in second half stoppage time.
It
I
was
mean, it's
just
we
unreal.
talk about this idea of Jeff Hopkins getting his teams to peak at the right time. I mean, is this the wake up call they had to have? Look,
I mean, look, they did win, but this is not how they should have won. Uh, yeah, it was just very ridiculous at every point, at every turn. I I know I was there and like I saw it, but I still kind of can't believe that it actually happened. Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely like a get out of jail free card having Aussie Kayla there for that. But yeah, they can't continue behaving this way if they want to make it through finals.
I mean, what may save them is the fact that they might have that top two spot and get the week off and just a chance. And I sort of heard a couple of the Melbourne City players talking about how having that time off with the postponement of the Brisbane game has just allowed them to work on some stuff that they don't usually get the chance to work on throughout the season. Just sort of reset and it's like being able to fix those sort of like minor errors. So maybe if victory, see out second spot can sort of work on that a little bit. But yeah, definitely a tight finish at the home of the Matildas. I mean, I know we just had a Matildas chat, but the Matildas could certainly be using an Aussie Kayla to clear out some of their problems at the back. And once again, this is like day 23 of me checking the FIFA portal to see if Kayla Morrison has had her name added to the nationality transfer list, and sadly, she has not. The only remnants of an Australian on that list is Joshua Soterio to New Caledonia. Um, I have noticed there does seem to be an influx of names coming sort of ahead of international windows or major tournaments. Um, so, like Nations League qualifiers in Europe, for example, that sort of thing. So, maybe we get Kayla Morrison in the next couple of weeks, maybe ahead of the next window, but I don't think I can wait another 2 months.
No,
Um,
yeah,
so,
absolutely not.
so hopefully that happens soon. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep checking the FIFA portal every single day because that's what I'm doing with my life, and I don't know how much longer I can do that. Um, I'll head to the nation's capital now. Sydney FC Burke keeping their remarkable late season comeback alive, led by Mackenzie Hawkesby at the front in the 78th minute. Some contentious, some contention in the lead up to this goal. Canberra players and coaching staff certainly thought that there was a foul in the lead up that should have stopped play, but I mean, the last couple of months, Mackenzie Hawkesby moved to striker. She's been inevitable.
She kinda has been. And I guess, as much as it pains me to say it, good for them. But that's as positive as I'm gonna get for Sydney. Sorry, you guys should be bottom of the table. No offense, but maybe actually full offense. Why are you not on the bottom of the table? Stop it. Stop. had enough.
I mean, they've kept their season alive in perhaps the most remarkable of circumstances. A win against Wellington in the 98th minute. They pick up a goal here in, as I said, slightly contentious circumstances, depending on which side of the fence you're on. As I said, Emma Robers and Anthony Garnett spoke to the media post game, and they both said clearly that they thought it was a foul. Um, but it's one of those things. Sydney now just 6 points back of Brisbane, who also lost on the weekend. This is just it's it's all being set up for Sydney to just
Don't say
win
that.
out and
Don't say that.
qualify in sixth place by the thinnest of margins,
Don't say that.
disappointing everyone. Burke, I am assuming you speak for everyone, not named, that does not identify as a Sydney FC fan or a player.
The way I will be so unbelievably angry if Sydney scam their way into finals after this absolutely appalling season. I will lose my mind. You'll never hear from me again. I'm sorry. Conspiracy. Huge conspiracy of Sydney make it back in. Something's happened. Someone's like they've contacted a different realm and gotten like an assist from like a spectral being or something. Or they've all prayed really hard and there is a God out there that hates me more than they like Sydney. And now I have to suffer. Yeah, hate this. Really do. I will be launching a personal investigation into Sydney for fraud if they make it into finals because something not right's happened. Something not right is happening. I hate it.
No, I think that's very fair. I think that's very clear. But you know who doesn't hate it, Burke?
I'm gonna guess someone from Sydney.
Yes, someone from
What?
Sydney
That's crazy.
who doesn't hate it is Jasmine Black.
Really?
She's come into the starting goalkeeper role in the last couple of weeks. She started off the bench against the Newcastle Jets 3 weeks ago. Started against Wellington and started in this game against Canberra and was crucial to Sydney FC in their 1-0 victory. And I caught up with her earlier today. Joining us now on the Dubcast is Sydney FC goalkeeper Jasmine Black. Jasmine, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Well, good. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem at all. It's an exciting time for you at the moment. You know, you've been in and around the squad for a couple of years now, and you just sort of you come in as a substitute in a game I'm sure you weren't expecting to come on in, and you get your first start. Well, what's it been like? A bit of a whirlwind month.
I mean, like it's been great. I think it's been a long time coming. Been preparing for this for a while. So yeah, I was super stoked when I got on in Newcastle, and then over the moon when I started against Wellington.
Uh, what was what was going through your head as you prepared for that start against Wellington? Was it nerves? Was it just sort of like, well, I've been here before with other teams. It's really not that different. Like, what was going through your mind?
Definitely some nerves. I think, especially because I was the fourth goalkeeper to go through. I knew what was at stake, but in saying that, I knew that if I'm playing in fear, it's just awful as a goalkeeper, especially like with that negative mindset, focusing on mistakes, you're bound to make way more mistakes than you usually do. So I think I just had to take a couple deep breaths and just play with fun and enjoyment. And I'm young and I love the game. And yeah, I was just super stoked to be playing again. So I just had to remind myself of that.
And I guess just sort of you've come in and Sydney have been like besides the game against Newcastle, but Sydney have won both the games you've been in, and it's been unfortunately for the team, it's been a bit of a rare occurrence this season. I think you've now got half of Sydney FC's wins, and you've been in the team for all of 3 weeks. Is how it's probably not necessarily a good thing, but like, is it good to like sort of build your confidence a little bit that you've come in at a crunch time in the season and you've just stepped right up to the plate?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think you can ask for anything more than a win. And the clean sheet on the weekend definitely boosted my confidence. The goalkeeper, that's all you can do. But yeah, it's been great to come in and win, to get that feeling like no, it's like no other with all the girls. So yeah, and especially I think we know how much a win feels now that we've lost a couple times this season. So yeah.
And you mentioned you had your starting debut against Wellington. It was also the Pride celebration game for the club. The keepers unfortunately didn't get the bespoke kit that the outfield players did, but you got the numbers on the back. But just what was that day like as a whole? Just because last year there was no kit, but the team wore rainbow scrunchies on the field. This year the club sort of backed up that commitment with a kit. Just talk us through that experience.
I mean, like Pride Round is such a huge part of the Sydney FC community. I think it represents the inclusion and the the happy community that we have, where we love all of our supporters, we love our fans, even like girls in the team, people in the facility, staff. Everyone is fully behind Pride Round, and I mean, like, who doesn't want to play with a cool jersey with all the rainbows down the side? I think all the girls are super excited. We had a couple photos in the change room beforehand, and yeah, I mean, like, the match itself was so fun with all the colours everywhere. There was, I think it was a higher attendance than we've had over the past couple of weeks. So yeah, it was great.
And then you're sort of just coming in at an A-League women level, but you've also played for the junior and the young Matildas as well. Have you been able to take those experiences and put them into to your A-League form?
Yeah, for sure. The Young Matildas is such a high level. All the girls there are absolute class. The professionalism there is just the same as A League. I think we all bring it to Young Matildas and then back to A League. It's also fun to be back with girls round about my age in the Young Matildas and have that, like, those friendships again. But then coming back, it's more of like an older sister vibe at A League, and then and then in Youngs, it's yeah, they're all great.
One of the places that you have been as well, where you get that sort of friendship camaraderie vibe, would have been Football New South Wales Institute, which sadly no longer exists. As an NPL commentator, I always loved calling Institute games. It was always nice to see, specifically the younger generations coming through. What was your experience like at the Institute?
Yeah, I love the Institute. I was there since I was 14, I think, under 14s. Obviously, in first grade, we had it a bit tough, but before that, I think we won or came second every other age group. Those girls are still my best mates to this day, and a lot of them play for Sydney. And nearly, I think I would say 80% of the Young Matildas team has played or is currently playing for Institute, like last year. So, yeah, lifelong friends made there, and I think that really set up my career.
Is it kind of sad that it's no longer going to be there?
Yeah, it is sad, I think. I think that was such a huge part of NPL and the upcoming age groups and, like, yeah, training the younger generations. I think Wanderers now is a good replacement. It would be great to see Sydney be a part of NPL for the women's. But yeah, it is sad. But I think it's good that the A-Leagues are stepping up and taking on that role for the girls.
Well, speaking of the Wanderers, that provides a perfect transition into my next question. You've got a massive Sydney derby coming up on Friday night. It'll be the first derby that potentially you've started in. Obviously, I don't know starting lineups or anything yet, but 3 days out. But it's a big game coming up. It could decide either who gets the wooden spoon or Sydney continuing their charge towards finals. What's the feeling like within the team heading into such a massive clash?
Yeah, it's a huge game. All the girls here are so excited. We've been talking about it for the past couple of days. Yeah, I think everyone loves that game, having that huge Sydney-based support. It's always a great game at Marconi. But yeah, it's also good to see, I think a lot of us are friends with a lot of the Wanderers team. Obviously, we put that aside after at the first whistle. But yeah, it's always good to play Wanderers.
If you do end up continuing the start again, just sort of similar to how it was, a couple of weeks, is there going to be any sort of nerves knowing that it's going to be, the first derby that you're playing in and you're starting, or is it just going to be business as usual?
I think I get nervous before every game. I think that's also healthy to go in there with a bit of nerves. You're fired up, ready to go. But I think there's a difference between letting your nerves control you and you control your nerves. So I try and have a good grasp on them, stay calm as a goalkeeper. I think that's really important. And yeah, play with fun, but also be aware that the nerves are there and use that to fire you up rather than bring you down.
What's it like, working under Ante Juric as a coach? Obviously, some coaches choose to work rather closely with the goalkeepers, others don't. Like, what's that dynamic like?
Yeah, he's been my A-League coach for 3 years now, and he's been my only A-League coach, and he's been great. We've had a couple of goalie coaches while I've been here, but all of them have been really great and helped me with my development. In terms of his involvement, he usually steers pretty clear, lets the goalkeeper coach do his thing. But as soon as we get in a game, 11v11, 6v6 environment, he'll definitely be there on the side, giving you advice, telling you, you could have played this pass here, there. But yeah, he's really good, and I love how he's fully prepared to support the younger players and trust them in goal and on the field.
Just looking more broadly at your journey, a question that I always find produces some interesting answers. Why did you want to be a goalkeeper? Because I often get told it takes a very special breed of person to want to be a goalkeeper, having, whether it be balls, whether it be pucks, whatever, just thrown at you, hurtling towards you. So why did you want to become a goalkeeper?
It definitely is a special breed. I think there's got to be something a bit unique about you, I guess. I was always pretty tall when I was a kid. I did stop growing when I was like in year 8, I would say, so that tall eventually everyone caught up. But yeah, I was put in goal, and then I don't think anything can beat the adrenaline rush of just making that save. It's like so addictive. And yeah, it's just so much fun. I also love how you have like that automatic group of goalkeepers who you can rely on, trust on, and yeah, the goalkeepers in Sydney are some of my best friends, and having that coach that's really intimate with only 4 or 5 goalkeepers is also really special.
Yeah, the goalkeepers union is quite often thrown about, particularly by former goalkeepers who have moved into punditry. Is it really as close as everyone says it is?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we definitely, we have a good time at training, and yeah, some of them are my best mates, and we definitely, I don't know if I can swear, but hang a bit of shit on each other once in a while. But it's good.
And then sort of, it touched on a little bit already, junior Matildas, young Matildas. I'm guessing the senior Matildas sort of where you would like to end up eventually?
Yeah, for sure. I would love to play for the Matildas one day. Yeah, that's definitely the goal.
It's a very tough group to break into. What do you think, and this sort of moves into my next question as well, is sort of like the goals that you have set for yourself. How do you think, the goals that you have set are going to help you break into that Matilda squad?
Yeah, I'm looking to go play at college. I just graduated high school, so looking to go over there and improve for 4 years, and then, yeah, see where I go professionally, maybe stay in America or go to Europe. I think the college level is quite high. That's also another professional environment that can help me grow as a player and in a different environment that's outside of Australia. Obviously, America has a really high level of soccer, and they're one of the best teams in the world. So being able to play alongside their future generation, I think would be really valuable for me. And then, yeah, after that, see where I go professionally, and hopefully that'll lead me to the green and gold.
I mean, a lot of Matildas have certainly gone through the college system in the past in the US, so it's definitely a good path. Do you have any particular colleges or unis in mind that you would like to go to, or is it sort of conferences are massive over there? So, like, do you have a conference in mind, or what have you thought about that?
I have a couple unis in mind, couple offers, but yeah, still waiting to see what comes through and weighing up my options, and also just waiting to see where A-League goes. So not making any decisions too fast. Their season doesn't start until September, so I've got a while.
Well, I'm sure that wherever you end up, we'll be very keen to hear about it and follow your journey. I don't know where you sort of want to end up over in college. But if it's for anyone who has a rivalry with UNLV, then I don't think I can. I don't think I can give a Dubcast seal of approval to that. But Jazz, thank you so much for joining us here this evening on the Dubcast.
All good. Thank you for having me.
And thank Jasmine once again so much for joining us. This is a very, very good interview. Absolutely enjoyed talking to her. It's just, it's clear that despite the fact she's quite young, she's only had a couple of starts in the A leagues. That she's got a very mature head on her shoulders. And hopefully, she gets that move to the US college system that she so desperately wants, and certainly be keen to keep up with her journey there. That interview was brought to us by the Round Ball Australia kit, Burke. That's, if you want to support the Dubcast, that's the best way you can do so at the moment. Besides hitting that subscribe button on YouTube. 1,000 subscribers allows us to monetize our content on YouTube, but we're only at 85, I think, so a long way away from that. So if you want to support us in the short term, buying the Round Ball Australia kit is the best way to do that. We will put a link in the description to head to the Round Ball Australia website. You can do that. It's only $65. It is a very high quality kit, and everything, all the proceeds are going right back into Round Ball Australia to help us produce wonderful content like this, Bert.
Yeah, it's great stuff to see that the kit is already, well, we're already reaping the rewards, I guess. So yeah, great stuff. It's awesome that we're getting this much support considering we've done what, 23 episodes? Yeah, it's very cool.
Yep. Sales for the kit will end on April the 1st at, I think it's 11:59 p.m. So and Tuesday night. So if you want to help support us, you've got just under a week to go get the kit. As I said, we'll put the link in the show notes, take you directly to the shop page of the Round Ball Australia website. That's the easiest way that you can help support us as we continue to bring you independent football coverage across Australia. But we'll head back into the dub action now. Central Coast Mariners 2, Wellington Phoenix 0. Burke, this is a very much needed 3 points for the Mariners here. A lot has been made about not just the Mariners, but a lot of the teams in that middle of the pack that have just been unable to sort of create separation, by dropping points here and there. And for the Mariners now, they're only 1 point behind Western United in fourth. They've got the 3 point gap to Brisbane Roar, and it seems like they've all but locked up a final spot.
Yeah, and honestly, it was a really good game for the Mariners. They were everywhere that they needed to be when they needed to be. They got the goals, and yeah, just easy 3 points for them. Honestly, for me, this game made me sad because Wellington just kind of rolled over and died, I guess. Which I hate because Wellington are very fun to watch when they're on. They were still very fun to watch during this game. It just would have been more fun if they had have not lost. Because this was a home game for them, and they're usually very good at Poletti Park. They have a pretty strong record there. So yeah, it was just, I don't know, a case of head loss for the Phoenix. Yeah, I'm not too sure about them getting a finals position. But yeah, I guess all they can do really is hope to win all of the points that are left available to them and then hope everyone else's results kind of come up favourably to them. Otherwise, they're pretty much done. Can you cook a phoenix again?
Well, I mean, we know a
Because
phoenix can rise
it's,
from the ashes, so
but
presumably you
it's
cook
like,
it, it rises from the ashes, and then you would cook it again.
yeah, that's what's going to happen to them. They will be recooked, I think, in the off season. But they've shown really strong positive signs as a squad, so I don't think we've seen the last of them. And hey, we may still not have seen the last of them this season, but it, yeah, all depends on whether or not they want to win their remaining games, which I kind of hope they do because it'd be really funny for finals to potentially be in New Zealand. I wonder how many people will get done for apples.
Yes, if you missed that story, there was talk that Taylor Ray had become the second player this season to be done at New Zealand at the New Zealand border for customs and immigration for having a straight apple in a bag. Um, uh, who was it that got done? It was the Perth player, the
Yeah.
American
Yep. And I
striker,
can't.
Gary Holler. It was
Holler.
Gary Holler
Yep.
who got done earlier this season. Like, it's funny enough that it happened to one player
But to
in a
happen to
season, let
two,
alone two. Like,
so good. I
I
when we were in the press conference with Rebecca Stott and Michael Matriciani, because City have a game in Wellington at the end of the week, I was asking Stotty if she's going to be on bag watch to make sure none of the team get done in again. But it would be really funny if it happened for a third time,
I mean, you would think that Stoddy would be the perfect person for it.
right?
She knows how strict New Zealand
Yeah.
immigration is. Like, although to be fair, I don't. I think there's less of a chance of it happening to Melbourne City, not just because of Stott, but because they fly to Brisbane, which has enough restrictions around fruit and everything
Mm,
being brought in as it is. Not quite as strict as Adelaide, but still pretty strict.
yeah.
And then they fly to Wellington this week.
So it'd have to be
Um,
a really concerted effort to get an apple into New Zealand from there because they'd have to go out of their way to find one.
they would have to go out of their way to go to a shopping centre to
To
get
buy
some
an
fruit.
apple and then somehow forget about it.
Yeah,
So it could
in the
be
space of a
really
few
funny.
hours.
It could be really, really funny because you would know that like there's more to it than there just being a stray apple. Like they would have had to have sorted out. So, well, fingers crossed they don't.
Yeah, it would have
But
it
I'm
would
not
certainly
gonna
give
be mad if they do.
no, it would certainly give the yellow fever some more things to chant about. I mean, so Wellington, they welcome Melbourne City this week, who'll be coming off the back of a midweek trip to Brisbane. I mean, look, we've sort of talked about it already, but Wellington are only 2 points back, but you get the feeling that it might just be a little bit too much to overcome at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they could get lucky if City end up pretty depleted after the midweek game they have against Brisbane, or they could get really unlucky and fail to take the opportunity that they're handed. It's too tough to call, really. Yeah.
I'll head over to the west now for the late fixture on Saturday night. It was Perth 1, Western Sydney Wanderers 0. Look, I will fully admit I was driving back from Canberra as this game was going on, so I didn't get a chance to tune into it. And by all accounts, I didn't miss a whole lot. Izzy Folletta scoring in the 91st minute keeps Perth season alive. So I have a look at the ladder in front of me. They're just 3 points back of a final spot, Burke. I mean, it seems almost remarkable that they could, seemingly come back from the brink with all their injury problems and somehow, some way, find a way into finals. And they've certainly got a very beatable opponent this week in Canberra. That if they can beat Canberra, a good chance that they could jump into the six, or certainly at the very least be right on the periphery on it. It's something that I don't think anyone would have been prepared to say a month ago.
Probably not. No, I would not. Yeah, I would not be saying, yeah, Perth are getting the sixth spot. But yeah, I think it's exciting stuff that they've managed to keep their season alive. What was it, like a couple last week that they were, the headline was that they've revived their chances from dead to like critical condition. And they just keep going. They may end up leaving the ICU at the end of this week. Good luck to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, as someone who has enjoyed watching Stephen Peters in the NPL New South Wales Women's over the last few years, and is very much an NPL Women's New South Wales truther, to see Stephen Peters step up to the A-League women level and do it in his first season as coach out west, I think I'll be very excited. I don't think the final series is ready for Kelly Brown.
No, no, it absolutely is not.
But the team that is ready for the final series is Adelaide United. Burke, they sealed their spot inside the top six. They cannot drop out. In fact, I don't believe they can drop out of the top three at this point. I think they are locked into either into a top three spot, depending on how their game against Melbourne Victory goes this weekend. They could find themselves in second spot by the end of the weekend. Although Melbourne City do have a game in hand because of that postponed game against the Western Sydney Wanderers, but 3-1 to Adelaide in a standalone game at Hindmarsh Stadium on Sunday afternoon. I mean, they're keeping the top two race interesting, but I think a lot more of this game has to be Brisbane. This is like I know it's injuries, but is that simply the way that we have to look at it is they just have lost half of their squad to injuries, and that's been the reason for their drop off.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Is there something else happening behind the scenes there? Couldn't tell you because I don't know. I don't live in Brisbane. I'm not privy to those conversations. But yeah, whatever's going on at Brisbane, it's been going on for a long time. It definitely started with the injury to Momo Hiyashi. And she is back now, which is great to see. And that is one of the really great things about having this long season is that we get players back. It's no longer someone gets injured and they're done. We get them back. Hooray. And I think they're on the verge of having Leah Varley and Chelsea Blissett come back in as well, possibly for the Wednesday game against City. But yeah, whatever's going on, the vibes seem off somewhere, somehow. The aura, whatever, it's bad. Are their chakras blocked? I don't know. Possibly at this point, possibly. They may need to do like a cleansing of the team for whatever bad vibes they've got hanging around because they just seem very flat, I guess is the word I'll use. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, that being said, to look at it from the Adelaide perspective in this game as well, I mean, they did go behind 1-0 in this game. Mariel Hecker scoring in the 52nd minute before a brace to Fiona Wirtz and then a penalty conversion by Chelsea Dorber in the 90th minute to give Adelaide the 3-1 victory. I mean, Adelaide have just been clinical this season in the way that they've gone about their performances, and I think their history has almost worked in their favor because, like, we're talking about it each week, but it also just seems like they're just continuously flying under the radar, particularly when you look at other teams that haven't necessarily had the best seasons, that have a little bit more of that NRI factor, that name recognition factor, that Adelaide are just quietly going about their business and, they've locked up a top three spot.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's because they've been so like historically bad. No offense to Adelaide, but they have been historically bad. Um, that we're kind of just like not used to it, a bit surprised by it. But yeah, they've just been very, yeah, quietly unassuming all season, which is really good, honestly. It's nice to have something different, even if it's not completely different. We're still being haunted by all the Victorian teams. Um, but yeah, I think it's really exciting for them. Whatever whatever it was that they've been doing it all, everything right, really. There was a point that I wanted to make about them that I cannot remember. It must not have been that good of a point because it didn't stay in my head. But yeah, I think they're going to be a really exciting team to see in finals because they had a crazy game against City a couple of weeks ago. So this game against Victory, I think, is going to be very big. It's being played at Melbourne Rectangular Stadium or Swan Street on Saturday. So if you're in the city, get down to it or don't because it is a double header. So ticket prices will likely be inflated. It's up to you. But if you don't have anything to do on a Saturday, it's a pretty good thing to get down to. It's also the Pride Cup game. So you should actually go. Ticket prices aside, you should actually go.
Yes, and an extra reason to pay the slightly higher ticket prices. I believe that a certain percentage of ticket sales are going to Pride
Yes.
Cup once
Yep.
again. I think for me, uh, actually, I'll hold on making the point that I want to make because we do have some more important news to talk about first before I decide to, hang stuff on other teams. Canberra United, they might finally be in the step in the right direction, Burke, to getting owners. So, the Canberra Times report early or late last week, I should say, on Thursday after. Well, it's Thursday, wasn't it? I believe. After we recorded that from David Polkinghorne that the APL has an offer on the table for Canberra United. It's Canberra United. We've talked about this. They've been in a state of flux for a number of for the last couple of years now. But that there is an owner who wants to buy the A-League women license, and is also keen on being part of this consortium to for an A-League men bid, or essentially the wording used in the article was roll the license into the Canberra men's team if that ever happens. I think we can safely say if that ever happens at this point. Although this article did say that those discussions with the APL are at an advanced stage, but it's a very good step in the right direction, Burke. That this may finally be sorted.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy to see this news come through, especially considering the conspiracy theories I was peddling a few weeks ago. I'm so happy that they have been disproven. Thank you so much, random millionaire out there that heard me and was like, we cannot let this girl continue talking the way that she's talking. Thank God I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and this time it may not be a train. Yay. One of the really exciting things that I've seen about this hopeful, tentative, please God do it takeover is the reinstating of the youth academies, which is, I think, really fantastic. I think it's a great thing to do. I wish every club had academies. I feel like at some point in the future it should be mandated, simply because I cannot keep seeing these 14-year-olds making their debut. I can't do it. That's what academies are for. Put them in there. Yeah, so I'm really excited to see the Canberra Academy come back, hopefully. Please.
Yeah, I mean, the article, the Canberra Times article, does say the investor is known to the ACT government and has been working with them on other investments into the region. So it's someone who knows the area well. But perhaps interestingly as well, they want to have the deal done within a month before the end of the A-League Women regular season, so they can start signing players. And that has sort of been something that's with Canberra because Capital Football has been running it. It can only really do these year-to-year deals. They haven't been able to do multi-year deals that a lot of other clubs have started to do in recent years. So I absolutely love the idea of that. But yeah, the academy, something that I realised after we finished recording last week that I did want to talk about, Burke. It was sort of more a ranting vibe. Was that Gotham player who came on at 14 in the NWSL?
I'm sorry. We can't do this. We can't do this. Where are the workers' rights? Where are the rights of the child? What are we doing here? I don't think the UN would approve of this.
I don't think they would either, but this only happened because there was a player who sued the NWSL.
Moultrie, Lydia Moultrie.
Yes, because she couldn't come in until she was 18 or whatever it was. And it's like, no, these safeguards are in place for a reason. And that's how we end up with a situation where we've got a 14-year-old making her NWSL debut when she has absolutely no need to. And
go to school. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go to school. What? It's
I
fine.
mean,
I'm going to try
I
and
couldn't
remain
help it.
calm.
No. I mean, I couldn't help but think back to the situation a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about at halftime of the NWS Spirit UNSW game that I was calling, where the technical director came over to me and said they had a 14-year-old starting at right back, and I'm just like,
No,
this is
don't.
the level directly below the A-League women. They're semi-professional. They're going up against adults here at 14 years old. It just, like, I was both stunned with some sort of bemusement, but also, like, why is this happening sort of question. I couldn't believe it. I can't believe it now. We have these safeguards in place for a reason. This is just, it shouldn't be happening. I mean, yeah, I mean, just
The thing
allow young
that's
people to
really
develop. Like,
crazy to me is like, are they actually that good? Because I know not every single one of these 14-year-olds is Ellie Carpenter. I know that for a fact. Like, I could tell you that. Hand on my heart, swear to God. On my life. They're not Ellie Carpenters. Or at least they're not all Ellie Carpenters, because she was a fluke. Like an utter fluke. What are we doing? Why are we doing? I'm sorry. These children need to be in school. What are they doing with, like, it feels so crazy to me to imagine these children's lives because what are you doing? You hang out with grown adult women in the team. You can't, like, they can't be using the same, like, facilities completely with them because that feels illegal in certain spaces. Look, I understand that it's probably their dream, but if it was like, I'm any caring parent should not be supporting this. But I don't know. I don't know. It's a whole minefield, really. Like, yes, you'd want to support your child to be the best that they can be, but wouldn't you also, like, don't you also want them to get like a quality education? Like, there's a reason so many people go through the US college system. I don't know. I don't
I
know.
mean, just wait a couple of years. It's not hard.
Right.
Like,
And hey, you can even grow a couple inches too, and then you won't spend, you know, the 10 minutes you get on the pitch as a 14-year-old getting absolutely battered by adults.
yeah. So hopefully that is the last time we'll have to talk about that for quite some time.
Please.
But we will look ahead to round 21 of the A-League Women. So a rescheduled round 18 clash on Wednesday, the day of release. Brisbane Roar vs Melbourne City at Perry Park. That is 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, 6 p.m. local. One game on Friday night. We have the Sydney Derby, Western Sydney Wanderers and Sydney FC at Marconi Stadium. A loss for the Wanderers would all but ensure the wooden spoon, while Sydney FC must win to keep their very slim finals hopes alive. Saturday at 4:50 p.m. at the Melbourne Rectangular Stadium. It is Melbourne Victory and Adelaide United in the Pride Cup double header. So that is the first game of that. And look, I'm just having seen what Melbourne Victory and Adelaide are doing in terms of their kits, which is just simply the rainbow numbering. I mean, it's what are we doing here? They both had spectacular kits last year, and Melbourne Victory the year before as well, and to just be going back to numbering, I mean, they may as well be doing a stupid sexy Flanders at this point and just wearing nothing at all. Like, it's what it feels like they're doing. Nothing at all. Nothing at
Yeah.
all. Nothing
Yeah.
at all.
It's very lazy. It's very boring. It's very, oh my God, I forgot we have Pride Cup this week. Quick, get the paint. We'll paint the white numbers.
Yeah,
Whatever.
not great. Perth versus Canberra at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, 5 p.m. local time on Saturday night. And then a triple header on Sunday. It's Wellington and Melbourne City at 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, 4 p.m. local. Newcastle and Western United at 4 p.m. local time at the number 2 sports ground. And then Central Coast Mariners and Brisbane Roar at 5:45 p.m. That is the second game of a double header on Sunday afternoon. But that will do for this episode of the Dubcast, part of the Roundball Australia podcast network. If you haven't gotten tired enough of hearing my voice, on Saturday, you can tune in to not one, but two NPL games that I will be calling. I have very graciously stepped in to cover some people. So I will be at Christie Park at 3 p.m. the Arctic Circle before making the mad dash to North Caramara Recreation Area for a 6:30 p.m. kickoff. So Burke, I don't know if you've ever done anything as crazy as that, but I've got a very very packed Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, cannot say I have. Good luck to you. I hope the traffic is on your side.
It's only about 20 minutes between venues, but if there's any sort of delay with the 3 p.m. kickoff, I might be skipping dinner, which I'm not. I'm not looking forward to the prospect of that. So hopefully there's not. But we'll be back next week on Wednesday, where we will have we'll be able to go a lot more in depth in previewing the Matildas' upcoming games against South Korea, and we'll be looking back on all the past action from round 21 of the A League Women. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.